Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your elevated creativity, more joy, and prosperity. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been living an intuitive life for decades as a creative. That translates to transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 27 years through two businesses as a business strategist and a life designer. And prior to that, an entertainment publicist and talent manager. Follow Your Joy is an entrepreneurial resource for creatives sharing their challenge to victory stories through the lens of listening to their intuition. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions rather than lean on your logic and reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic for you, but you will live the beautiful life meant just for you. Want to learn how to access, trust, or up-level your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. Okay. Hello, everybody. So, guess what? We are celebrating a milestone in the Follow Your Joy podcast journey. Yeah. Today is the 100th episode. And in celebration of this, I wanted to do something different. So I invited my creative powerhouse behind the brand, Chelsey Marie, who's been my brand manager and good friend since 2013. That's 13 years together navigating this crazy, unpredictable, humbling, and exciting entrepreneurial life. Chelsey is the post-production behind the podcast and all things branding in my business. So who but only her to celebrate with me 100 episodes of storytelling, spotlighting entrepreneurs and their intuitive-led reinventions and pivots and successes. So we're flipping the script by her interviewing me. What has happened behind the scenes in the creation of this beloved platform. So this is a huge thank you to all of you, right? My Follow Your Joy community listeners who believe what I believe. Following your joy is not just a feel good, it's a life strategy that leads you to achieving your desires and goals. So let me introduce my co-pilot, Chelsey Marie.
Hi, we reached 100.
Oh,
I feel like we should have some champagne or something.
oh my gosh, we forgot the champagne.
We forgot it. Oh
Let me
no.
go get it. Let me go get the Prosecco out of the.
I know, later.
Actually, I do have some Prosecco in the fridge.
Ooh, that's cute. You gotta have it later. There you go.
So, Chelsey, before we turn the, moderation over to you, why don't you share with everybody your world and what your mission is and all that good stuff?
Okay, I will. So I'm a brand strategist and designer to mostly women entrepreneurs. And honestly, my mission is to help them transform who they are into a vision, visuals, and so that they can gain powerful visibility that actually supports their ROI, because we love a pretty brand, but a profitable one is better. And so that's really the mission in the business and behind everything we do. That's why we love supporting you.
I know. Boy, and we've definitely been, through life and business together.
Yeah.
Literally. It's a lot of life we've lived together for 13 years. So I appreciate you a lot.
I appreciate you too.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited I get to interview you.
Yeah. So go ahead. Yeah, take it over, girl.
Okay, so I wanted to kick this off because I think follow your joy sounds so pretty. It sounds so nice, but why does it actually exist? So I want you to tell everyone because you and I have talked about this extensively, but why did you start the Follow Your Joy podcast in the first place? And what was happening in life and business at that time?
Yeah. So you were right there.
Well, I know, but everybody else needs
You
to
were
know.
you
They
were
don't
right there.
know.
Yeah. So behind the scenes, everybody, yeah, Chelsey was right there. I was rebranding. Okay. I was rebranding and with a photo shoot. It was September 2021. That was oh my gosh, 5.5 years ago for a 2022 launch of the rebrand. Okay. I'd wanted to have a I'd wanted to have a podcast for a while, a couple of years, right? But I really wasn't clear on what it would be, and I wanted to be sure that I had a production system behind it to support it because we all know it can be this runaway train if you don't. So while being in my creative zone for a few months, coming up with my new brand and just kind of allowing ideas to show up, no rush, right? That's the feminine again of life rather than the hurry up, get the idea and start launching or start, implementing something. Is that during that creative time, follow your joy came through intuitively. So it was a perfect fit for who I am. And literally the words, follow your joy, came up. It was this intuitive, it wasn't in the brain, it was in the body, right? Message.
Yeah, it took us a while to name it.
Yeah, follow your joy. Because it really identified who I am and the way I live life. I mean, I was born with a happy chip in me. I can't not be optimistic. Right? It's just who I am. And it integrated with my Follow Your Joy or joy with my coaching purpose because I support clients in doing what they love and being paid well for that and attracting clients that are a joy to work with through qualifying them and a qualifying sales system. So when you follow your joy, this is what came up again, is when you follow your joy, it's a life strategy. It's not just a feel good, right? So in that equation is your intuition and listening to that over logic first, since your intuition, your spirit, it directs you, right, to your best interest, solution, or answer. So when we can rely on that, know that it's telling you something, right, to take action. And by doing so, you'll have joy.
I love that. Take action, and by doing so, you'll add joy. Write that down. But I mean, I think too, at the time, you were really into working with your clients behind the scenes on like balancing their masculine versus their feminine. And this really was the answer to that of like how best to describe that tension, which we'll get into in a little bit. But how has the meaning of follow your joy evolved since then? I mean,
Mhm.
we're at 100 episodes, and so yeah, give us the meaning now.
Sure. Well, the meaning, it truly has been validated
Yeah.
even more, given all the stories. I know my intuition was correct in naming it and using this as a platform because all the stories over 4 years from my guests, when I asked them to share, when they followed their intuition, right, rather than their logic for a pivot in their life or a reinvention, it resulted in a positive, joyful result, right? So this is an evergreen never out of date concept philosophy of life that enhances human beings' lives. This can never, ever go out of style. This could never go away when technology changes. And so the meaning again, that, again, answer your question is it's just been validated story after story.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, since I produce the podcast, like you can hear it in every single person that you interview. And it is interesting to see how many people
Yeah.
truly like that have reached great different levels of success, whatever success means to them, like that it all started with kind of this nudge to do something that they weren't totally sure was going to be
Mhm.
like profitable or helpful, but they knew it was going to bring them joy. It was going to make them happier
Yeah.
ultimately. And so I love that. And I think, when it comes to creating Follow Your Joy, that was a big storyline that you wanted to come through. I mean, as a writer and your background in PR, that was something that you had hoped would come out of these episodes. So, can you take us behind the scenes on how do you decide what to talk about on the podcast?
Yeah, sure. In each episode. So, as you know,
You have quite a prep
I have
routine.
I have quite a vetting system.
Mhm.
You just have to, everybody. And those of you that are podcast hosts and producers, you know this, right? But I have a curated prep form with very intentional questions that highlight my guests' background, what brings them joy in their work as an entrepreneur, and their intuitive story, right? And how it changed their life. Okay. And how they use the intuition for business, right? Rather than, again, relying on logic, is that gives me now the basis, especially as a journalist, as a writer, as a storyteller. It just gets juicy for me, right? And I know what to pull from their prep questions, their prep answers that makes for good conversation, right? And leaving room for spontaneity and how to lead the conversation, right? So I compose a script, right, from every episode based on their answers as I weave in an inspiring angle, if you will, an inspiring story to tell, right? And I listen while I'm interviewing. And this is a really helpful tip for those of you that, again, are podcast hosts, is that to listen, not necessarily, yes, what they're saying, but what's not being said.
Hmm.
What's not being said. And I've learned that skill. Well, I'm going to back up. I've always had that. It's always been an intuitive way. I've always been a listener. But when I learned to be a journalist in my, in college and then in my PR days, that also helped is listen to and weave and lead the conversation. There's something in there that they're not saying. And I've learned to intuitively ask the right questions to pull it out of them. So it's kind of like the where the heart of the story lies is
Hmm.
what isn't being said. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because I feel like in each conversation, each guest gets to open up to you in like a slightly different way or kind of dive deeper into something that's quite a vulnerable story for some of them. Like we don't all like want to change our life or pivot to a different career because like it's everything is good and great all the time. We pivot because we need to. So I'm curious when you're talking about this creative process that you have, what does that creative process look like for you when there's no pressure for it to perform, no pressure for it to, make money necessarily. You're creating from this heart-centered place.
Yeah. So you're talking about the creative process to come up with an episode and a script
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah. Well, I kind of alluded to this a few minutes ago, is that I use the creative process, and I do coach this, right, in appropriate conversations, is I use feminine energy approach of leaning back, receiving ideas, allowing them to come, right, over time, if you will, then expecting ideas to show up and take action on that immediately. And that's the masculine of life. And there's no gender here, right? Feminine, masculine are principles and energies. When I refer to that term, doesn't matter. There's no gender in this at all. So, because typically masculine is okay, hurry up, get it done, get the idea, and start taking action.
Hmm.
It's
Which is
not
needed
always,
sometimes.
pardon me,
It's needed
it's
sometimes.
needed. It's needed. And that's why the blend of the feminine and masculine is my platform, right? And what I teach, you must have both.
Yeah.
But the challenge has been women have neglected their feminine wisdom, intuition, the fun, the play, the adventure of life, desires, pleasure, because they haven't been encouraged, trained by society, whomever. It's always this masculine, hurry up, get it done, structure, strategies, logic, reason, linear, function, money, get it done. And what happens, right, is we burn out. It's an absolute recipe to huge burnout for every woman on the planet. I don't care who you are, because you're in your head instead of your body. All right. So when you're in your feminine, you're in your creativity, right? Creativity comes from your spirit. It comes from imagination. It comes from non-pressure. It comes from leaning back, allowing ideas to come to you versus, and I feel it. I know you do too every day in your business. I'll
Oh, yeah.
feel it many times during the day and I'll go, just breathe, Marla. Just breathe from your feet up. Stop. I'll feel that pressure being in the masculine mode. Like I'm good at structure. I'm good at, very details. That's just who I am. You know that. I'm good at following, the linear path. But when I'm pushed to hurry up and get it done and under pressure and under a date, under a deadline, I'm not very good at that. I kind of get really dysregulated. And I know a lot of us do. And I'm asking y'all to listen to your body. When you are in that dysregulated, hurry up pressure, yes, we have deadlines to meet, but when you're in that mode, stop for a moment and re-regulate yourself. Break the pattern by taking some deep breaths and getting out of your head and get into your body. All right. That's the
Yeah.
creative process, right? There's no such thing as impatience. There's no ego mind in there because that's our brain. Our beautiful, beautiful brain just wants proof. It wants reason. It wants function. It wants answers. It wants get going because that's
Hmm.
how it operates. You can't change that. However, you can manage it.
Yeah. I mean, I think this podcast is really interesting from a creation standpoint
Yeah.
because it took us so long initially. Like you had the idea for the podcast, but like it was very interesting to watch because I'm behind the scenes of so many different creative projects.
Yeah.
But you just really had to let these ideas come to you. And then once they did, then we could balance in the masculine. But it was I feel like it's like that almost with each episode too. Like you kind of have to sit with the recording and then you have to sit with the description and it like we're not always rushing it. That's why we don't release episodes twice a week or three times a week, you
Oh
know?
God,
So
no.
as because it's unrealistic. It's
It
just
is.
not realistic for the team capacity, and I think that's an important thing to note.
Yeah.
If you are an entrepreneur listening to this and you have something creative you want to accomplish,
Yeah.
that won't necessarily right away lead to revenue, right? And so I just want to, highlight that point because it's so, so vital how you talked about that and just allowing the idea to come instead of expecting, magic in 10 seconds. So, how has this given you yourself um space in to show up in the rest of your business because it requires a totally different part of you,
Mm.
to run this podcast than, regular money-making activities, Marla. So, talk a little bit to our audience about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on a side note, and I really want to emphasize this, and I'm sure some of you are going, well, wait a minute, it does make money. A podcast indirectly makes money, or I wouldn't be doing it at all, right? It's from a PR standpoint and being an expert in PR and publicity and brand positioning and all of that, it's fantastic for that. So can I say directly that money, I receive a client directly from a podcast episode? Maybe. It was one of many in their journey. People have come to me because they heard the podcast or someone recommended it.
Yeah.
And then they went and, opted into my email with one of my, downloads. They found me on Instagram and they followed me there. So it's, if you will, the customer journey.
Yeah, it's one part of an entire marketing system. And I think that that's also an important thing too for creative entrepreneurs listening, because sometimes your creative thing that you want to do will help you get the most eyeballs on your work or your service.
That's right.
But it won't always be a direct line, oh, I do this, I make 5 sales.
Correct.
Like there's not a direct line.
Mm-mm.
And I think that that's true in any digital business or especially a service-based business right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
But
So,
I do think it's fundamentally changed the way that you show up in yours.
yeah, what do you mean?
Well, just practicing, the living in the follow your joy, like, just back to the question, because it's how has it allowed you to show up in the rest of your business? Because this is helping support all of our visibility efforts too.
Yeah. Well, and to that note is, I mean, this is the core of how I work. And it's what I teach my high achieving women is the blend of the masculine feminine. It literally, okay, which is back up. It's the creative achievement formula, which you know. Those of you that are new, that's what I call the masculine feminine or the feminine masculine blend, rather than just the masculine goals, 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 go get them. The creative achievement formula is desires, which is feminine, which tend to be neglected. My desire to travel, my desire to have a brand new wardrobe, my desire to have a loving relationship, my desire, that has nothing to do with a goal. It's heart-based, right? It's passion-based. So desires feminine plus goals, which is the masculine, it's measurable, right? It's functional, equals a result and transformation of your life. Because when you follow your desires and you honor them, they're meant to transform you. Goals are great to do. Got to have them. But you got to have both, or you end up just living kind of an empty life because all you're going after are goals and not your desires. Okay. So,
No, but like write that down because you can't only chase your goals without prioritizing your desires along the way. Like they go hand in hand.
they go hand in hand. If you want to have, and this is what's important about this, if you want to have a regulated nervous system, which we all do, I mean, this is the solution to operating right in your business every day and in life, period, is you can't always be in the hustle and the go get 'em mode. You just can't. It's unsustainable, right? It's unsustainable. And it always heads to burnout because what's happening is you're in your head all the time instead of from the neck down, which is where your heart where your intuition is. Your intuition resides in your body. It doesn't reside in your head. And intuition is a vibe, a sense in your body. It's not necessarily a feeling, but it can translate to a feeling. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So, yeah, is slowing down. So, again, my answer to anytime you're in the masculine too long, the hustle mode in the head, in the brain, getting it done, function, all that is to lean back, be conscious, be conscious, get out of your head, go take a break, go do a yoga pose, go outside, go take a walk, take deep breaths, do something to break the pattern, right? And that this came, so the reason why I'm such a huge advocate of this is in 2017, those of you that know me, and this is for those that don't, that are new, I had a huge burnout. 2017, and I'm probably called a meltdown. Wouldn't you, Chelsey? You knew what was happening.
It was a little bit of a
A
meltdown.
little bit of a meltdown. I was,
Which we all have.
yeah,
All business owners have a meltdown at some point.
and several. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this was, I've been in business now. I've been in the mentoring coaching space 18 years. At year 9 is when this burnout happened. And how the feminine masculine blend and creative achievement formula was created was out of my own burnout meltdown. I hired my coach Gina DeVee, who I ended up staying with for a good 6, 7 years. She is still, she helps, it's very empowering. She helps women, especially at that time, how to have, if you will, this laptop lifestyle, jet set lifestyle, doing what you love to do, which is transforming lives and taking it anywhere in the globe if you love to travel. And I did. And I went, okay, how do I do this? And her whole platform was based on being a queen, being in the feminine, and the masculine supporting the feminine. And I knew at that point that's what I needed to learn because I was
Yeah.
always in the masculine, which is why I burned out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what came out of that short, I should say long, it was a intensive, it was intensive in her home. It was about 4 or 5 hours one-on-one with her. And what came out of that, she pulled out of that, or I should say out of me, was my long-term, long-held desire, dream of wanting to live and work here and in Italy. And she says, okay, you're going to Florence, Italy for a month. And I went, okay, I
Mhm.
am. And thank God for her, it changed my life. And after that session, and we literally spelled it out what I needed to do, what the costs were. I mean, I walked home, I should say. I drove home with this, flip chart sheets that I pulled off the flip chart that was all the pieces of what we just worked out. How to plan for the trip, what I'm going to pay for, how to plan for the income, how to plan to pay for it, et cetera, et cetera. 45 days later, I took off for Rome, Italy, in a train to Florence, stayed in a wonderful Airbnb, and spent an entire glorious month in the city of Renaissance and changed my life. And out of that came the creative achievement formula.
And that creative achievement formula you teach in your group program, and I've done it like with you before, and it is quite a transformational journey. It is unlike any other group program I've ever been a part of. It's very intense and intensive. So I love it, and I love all the stories we get from it. I know you've interviewed lots of people who have
Yeah.
gone through it too. So if you're listening to this, curious about how to implement your own creative achievement formula in your world and you want to learn more about Marla's process, there's lots of episodes that you can reference. But I also feel like I'm so glad you talked about the Italy desire that you've had because I think a lot of the times your interviews go really in depth into who your people are, but they don't really know that much about you yet. So, let's just have a little bit of fun. What brings you joy outside of business that our listeners probably don't know?
Yeah, sure. Especially those that are new, and there's
Yeah.
new people all the time around the world. Hello, hello.
Hello.
I know. Um, let's see. In fact, when we did the year-end stats
Yeah.
last year, I think Morocco was on the top, right? One of the
Yeah.
top, I think, five cities. And listen, that our listeners like, hello, Morocco. I love that. So, yeah, I am all things Disney.
Surprise, the
So,
California girl
right.
loves Disney.
Surprise, surprise, being a creative, brought up in a creative family in the 60s and 70s. Oh my gosh, yeah. I was brought up in LA, right? Around Walt Disney era. So when Disneyland, was only, what was it? I don't know, 10 years old, 9 years old, or something like that. My gosh, I think almost every birthday, because my father allowed us three girls to choose for our birthdays, where did we want to go on our birthday? And many times, all three of us at different, at our birthdays, January, August, and September, we would choose Disneyland, so we would be there several times a year. Yeah.
I mean, to be
And
fair, I'd choose Disneyland still,
I
so.
know, right? I mean, absolutely. Um, and my dad was the creative in the family, and he really admired Walt Disney, as we learned to do too. And Walt, to me, is the ultimate Imagineer, who taught me really how to dream, how to be creative, how to be a storyteller in my very young years. So all things Disney, I knew it before it got obviously complicated, and you have to stand in 2 hour lines to get to a ride. All right.
Yeah.
The other thing about me, I love doggies, love dogs. I'm a rescue dog mom. All my dogs as an adult were adopted from rescue organizations. And currently, my sweet Ruby, she's a Papillon Pomeranian mix, and she is absolute pure love and joy. Boy, did God know what to do to plant her in my life when I found her at Mayday Foundation, which you can find them on Instagram. It's Maeday Foundation. And she's 4 years old. I adopted her in 2022, November. And she helps me stay grounded. And she's just literally the sweetest thing, smart as a whip. But boy, I call her my empath dog. She's highly sensitive. Anytime that I may be in frustration, like, because she's hanging out here while I'm working, and I'll be in frustration mode, like we all do.
Mhm.
And I may, talk back to the laptop or the computer, whatever I'm looking at, or an email or an Instagram post, and I'll go, "What?" And she'll immediately like respond. I'll look at her and she's kind of cowering, going back to the bedroom. I mean, she's that sensitive.
Oh, poor
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah, she's just a doll. Sweet, sweet girl. Okay. So, other part of me, as you probably gathered, is everyone knows that I love all things Italian. Right? I must say that I'm an American girl with an Italian soul. Am I Italian in my heritage? Not in this lifetime, but probably other lifetimes for sure. It just resonates. The people, the pace in which they live their lives, the quality of how they live their lives, the arts, the architecture. I mean, just everything about Italy. Just I feel at home when I'm there. Yeah. So let's see. And then my artistry is writing. I'm a writer, and I love visual arts. I love photography. I love taking pictures. with my phone. I mean, I actually love being on Canva. I mean, tried my best not to spend too much time on there, but I love Canva because allows me that creative time to just be in visual. So I don't mind having to go in there when I need to. Um, and, with writing, it just comes out naturally. I'm so grateful to have that gift because, like being a young girl and I was writing poems and I didn't know that was my, you know, talent. I didn't realize that was my zone of genius. I just knew I felt solace from it and I could just write. And it really wasn't until high school that one of my close friends, we were in journalism class. We did the yearbook, the high school yearbook together.
Hmm.
And we were talking about college, and she says, you should think about public relations. And I go, well, what is that? I
Hmm.
honestly had no clue what it was. She says,
Fair.
well, you're a good writer. She says, and it's journalism, it's writing. She says, you might want to research that. Let me tell you something. Talk about an angel in your life. That one conversation changed my life. And that's what got me to go into PR journalism. Because one, I love culture, I love humanity, I love writing. It's like the whole thing just matched up, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, storytelling, writing, I can open up a blank page, know what I need to get right, and boom, it's done. I don't need AI. Never have. What I do use AI for is when I need a quick, okay, I always put in the prompt, my content, and then I have AI spiff it up. I never go to AI and ask them to write me something, ever.
Yeah. I mean, I think writing is definitely like the talent of yours that we utilize the most in the business. And if you're not a part of Marla's newsletter or you haven't gotten any of her downloads, like you're gonna want to go to the portal and get those because that, like everything she does is really well written and it's a little bit longer form, but like honestly, if you read it, it might give you a little something extra. So. Just that.
Thanks,
Just
Chelsea.
that.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of fun with Chelsea and I, and Chelsea kind of keeps me in check. I am a long form writer. And
Can
I know, see how she during the laughs, and thank
I get
God,
anything short? No.
no, like Chelsea has helped me, really shorten up things or things I've been incredibly resistant to,
Mhm.
like short form, do a 15-second video. I'm not doing a 15-second video.
You
Like,
should.
I can't do a 15-second. I'm sorry. It's like, sorry, TikTok. However, what I was saying is, you've been incredibly helpful because you're all about short form. You're from also a different generation, which is my son's age. So it's
I
a
mean,
great,
I love to write. I feel like digitally, people don't always have the bandwidth for something that's longer. And so,
true.
sometimes it's helpful to do like a too long didn't read situation.
Yep.
But also, I don't know, Substack and its popularity is proving that wrong right now too.
Well,
So,
that in fact, and I sent you that info,
oh yeah.
right? When I did those of you may not know this, some of you do, if you've done your research with AI, and that is I took a quick, excuse me, a webinar 2 weeks ago that really changed everything, and that is it was about GEO, not SEO. And the way that AI bots go out there to find info while you're doing you've done a prompt into chat or Claude or Perplexity, and you put in your prompt, it's looking for trusted resources, experts in long form, not short form. In fact, AI does not go to Instagram. It goes to LinkedIn, it goes to YouTube, it goes to Google reviews, it goes to all the expert and long form is coming back. I'm like, yes. But it's really about how AI can get the right info for you
Yeah.
when you're asking for that. So, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Chelsey, when I sent you that info?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think long form has a space in your business for sure, in anyone's business, but also it's just a matter of like efficiency. Like,
Yeah,
not all like let's be honest, most service-based business owners don't sign up to be content creators. Like,
no,
that's not, it is a necessary thing, but it's not your entire business. And so I hesitate to make anyone feel like they have to do this or
right.
like any one form. It's like, what's the thing that you're really good at? How can we do that the most? And then outside of that, you can repurpose
Yeah,
or,
yeah,
you know, get really good at doing that one thing and being consistent and then expand. You know, a lot of people are in their masculine trying to do everything all at once and it's
yeah.
not helpful. So
Mm-mm. No.
that's my take. But today is not about my
Well,
take.
it's a no, but it is. But you have to, no, 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 no. Of course, it's a conversation. It's,
Yeah.
what you have to say is important. I mean, besides you helping with the shorter form, I mean,
Hmm.
that's what I go to AI to every day, is
Yep.
that I will purposely write something the way I normally write it, which can be long, and then I'll throw it into AI and go, okay, turn that into a social media post, keeping my, obviously my voice, keeping the storyline, keeping I give it very specific instructions, and it shortens it beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Love
God
it.
for that. I'm like, yay!
I know. I know. But you are such a good writer. So I just wanted to
You.
highlight that.
Aw,
So,
thank you. So and then the last piece I wanted to bring up about me is yes, some of you may not know this because you don't see very much info on him. I have a son. He's 34, almost 35 coming April, and he lives in Santa Monica. He's not into social media. He dislikes anything related to it. He used to use it, but he has a very strong adversity to social media. So you won't see much of him with me on social media. He's a real estate investor and a whiskey futures rep, which I was just researching the other night, which I think it's fascinating. It's a way to hedge against um, typical investing, which is stocks, which is always fluctuating, whiskey, and it's rare whiskey bourbon, like wine, is an investment. It's called passion investing. And literally, I find this fascinating. And I keep
yeah.
looking at it more, is that it's for high-end investors and they literally invest in these casks, these barrels of whiskey, hold on to them for about 8 years, and then they resell them to brands and to distilleries. And they make a 12, I think it's 12, what was it? 12 to 17% return. So anyway,
That's crazy. That's great.
it's fascinating. And the way that they market is they're out at, events, right? They've got the company he works for. They're out at, chambers of commerce events. They're out at luxury lifestyle events because that's where the people are. So anyway, super proud of the guy. I raised him as a single mom. We were pretty close up until up until he hit about 32, 31, and he's at a stage right now, which longer story that's not going to be mentioned here, but he just has chosen to kind of live his life kind of without mom right now. So I just got to send him a lot of love.
So much love.
So much love.
Well, I mean, alone time's important and learning about yourself is important. And I think, this podcast and you becoming a host of a podcast, I feel like I've seen you embody different parts of yourself. So I'm curious, what's something you've learned about you from hosting this podcast?
Yeah. So one is how to pace myself and notice when I'm spending too much time, right, on the podcast and not delegating enough. I have to keep really close watch on how much time it requires.
It takes
Um,
a lot to
what's
produce.
that?
It takes a lot of time.
Oh, so oh my gosh. And that was honestly, that was one of the reasons why I waited a while to do a podcast because I was a little bit afraid. I thought, oh my God, is this going to take up, it's going to eat up all my time. What am I going to do? That's why the production system is so important. But yeah, it can really eat up a lot of your time, even when you have a production system and delegation and support. So thank God for you, Chelsey, doing the production.
Well, hi, thank you. I'm happy to help. And,
Oh, you're doing
I
amazing.
mean, we're doing a lot even to support like the follow your journey or follow your joy community. I tried to combine joy and community in my head and it ended up in journey. Anyway,
Yeah.
same, right? It is all a journey, but we're working on really giving them more resources and, that's why we opened the portal. So it's been fun to see that expand and I mean, some people's entire businesses are just running a podcast. So I think it's always so interesting when you have like a business owner who also has a podcast. So
Yeah,
anyway,
for sure.
that's, yeah.
And I wanted to mention, on a side note, that I am excited for what's coming, and Chelsey knows what this is, but we're going to talk about it tomorrow. I mean, this podcast, this part of the brand is just tried and true, and I love it. I think y'all know that. This is probably the most fun, the most creative part of my business, and it's not going away at all. But what I'm excited is we're working on really how to expand the community, as in proximity with each other, connecting, gathering and being able to have more than just the podcast to listen to. So stay tuned because I'm looking at expanding us as a community so that we can actually gather together.
Ooh,
Woo.
curiosity. I mean, I think that that's beautiful, and I'm excited to talk more about that in our team meeting. So, I guess, when we've talked a lot about like joy versus revenue, and I think a lot of our listeners that are business owners, which is most of you, I think, everything you do has to be so intentional and strategic and revenue generating. So, can we just highlight for them why this is different?
Well, okay. So, it's obviously a good question. And again, I love it because it's a passion project. It uses my PR expertise, my publicity, my journalism, etc., storytelling, and it's fun and so forth. But trying to figure out, here's what do they call it? The white elephant in the middle of the room or the pink elephant in the middle of the room, whatever color you want to call it. But trying to figure out how to monetize this and all the tricks and the tools that we've tried, it's been incredibly frustrating. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's not easy to monetize a podcast. We talked a little bit earlier, right, about this. Yes, it's not a direct line, but it does support your business for sure.
Yeah.
So that's why I've come up with what we're going to talk about tomorrow about expanding uh,
Yeah.
the brand, the Follow Your Joy brand, and how it can be monetized that fits me. Right now, am I an Oprah Winfrey, a Tony Robbins? Well, no, I can't at the moment. Be happy to, but working towards it. Go out to brand partnerships and have them sponsor the podcast. That would be lovely. I don't have the followers that Oprah
Yeah.
and Tony Robbins and fill in the blank have. It's
Well,
okay.
I mean, and most people don't, you
Most
know?
people don't,
Most people
right?
don't. But you can't get there unless you start.
Until you start doing something to build community. And
Yeah.
you make a good point, Chelsey. Most of us podcasters, we're not huge podcasts. And we're doing it for that creativity. We're doing it because we love that. And we know that we're serving our community, right? So it's also too that that's why we created last year the Portal of Joy, as you were referencing, is I love the idea, and I got it from a coach that I was working with last year, where it's a win-win for both the guest and myself, which is instead of just dropping a link to their free download, their free gift that I do like them to offer you as a listener around their expertise and whatever we were talking about in the episode, instead of dropping the link down in the show notes. It was, you know what? Let's create a portal of joy where you opt in, it's free. Yes, you opt in with your name and email, but you have access to this treasure trove of gifts that we have vetted. Not everyone has their gift in there, by the way, but most of them do. And so Chelsey set up a beautiful page where you go in there and you can download whatever you want. And they're just, I can't even begin to name it. Just opt in. You'll have the link below from this episode, but it's in every episode in the show notes, the link
Yeah.
to the portal. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think the gifts are awesome and creating a hub for them is so good because every business owner might need a different resource or something, or maybe there's one that's more joyful than necessarily revenue generating. So peek around because you don't have to necessarily listen to every expert once you get into the portal too,
Right.
until you really want to get to know that guest. But I am curious, why do you think so many business owners feel this like pressure, like we're in a pressure cooker, to justify everything they create with numbers? Like, why do we have such a hard time following our joy?
Well, I referenced it a little while ago. So when
Yeah,
I
you
live by
did.
this, it's the brain, it's the masculine, number one. It's not everything needs to be monetized. Yes, we have a business to run. Yes, we're, here to earn a living and do our livelihood and be well rewarded for that financially, right? Absolutely. And profit. But being a creative, I don't believe everything needs to be measurable, right?
Yeah.
You need non-pressure on some things. So just pick and choose what that is for you. Okay. But that's where the feminine comes in. What can be fun, right? What can be the feminine of your business, the fun, the play, the adventure, the creativity, the spirituality of your business, while you're also doing the revenue producing activities.
Yeah, and I think I'll add to that too because I am a creative business owner and then also like I support a lot of creative business owners. And
Mhm.
you get into this kind of business because you love what you do. If you're a photographer, you probably just liked taking pictures of your friends. Wedding planning, you probably just like weddings and wanted to plan events like J-Lo, you know what I mean? Or like
Mhm.
whatever the reason might be. But then after a while, it becomes the thing that you have to rely on for cash flow, and for money,
Right.
and then your relationship to this thing that you initially started because you loved it kind of changes. And so I think reinfusing the joy into it can be really tricky. And so that's what I've noticed. So I'm curious, you work with women who once loved their businesses, like that situation I'm describing, and now they feel stuck in a routine. So what do you see happening when joy gets deprioritized? Like, what are some symptoms that that's the problem in your business?
Yeah. And I love, love, love this question because it's really going to shed some light of what goes on behind the scenes in my world. that you don't see when I'm coaching, right?
Yeah.
And that is in changing women's lives. Women's excuse me, inner light, meaning their spirit, their heart, their soul, dims, and she gets depressed and she goes numb when she's in the masculine too long, too much. It's about regulation. It's about pacing yourself, right? Because that's the numbing, the depression, okay? That's a serious side effect of not prioritizing your desires, your play, your joy, your rest, your intuition, right? Getting out of your head. That's the feminine of life. So when we neglect that, hence the whole, what we've woven in here throughout our conversation is when joy gets deprioritized. Watch for those symptoms, ladies. It's That's what's going on. You're not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I think like it's not necessarily an indicator that you have to change your whole business model,
Mm-mm.
which like is a thing I see a lot of women do. Like if they start to not love what they're doing anymore, it's like, oh, I better change to do something completely different. And it's like, no, you're probably getting bored. Like you're getting bored because you're it's revenue generating for you. So like how can you remember how to make it fun again? That's the trick, right?
That's right.
And so, how does this business quietly shift from being something you chose to being something that feels like an obligation? What do you think?
Yeah, and that's a very common, and you know this, being so close to me and my clients, and that's what goes on. That exact situation goes on where their original passion for doing the business that they chose eventually shifts to an obligation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
It's not fun anymore. And I just refer back to the question we just answered, right?
Yeah.
Is when we neglect our feminine, right? And only live by the pushing and the doing and the masculine and the drive and being in your head and constant work and no downtime.
Yeah, like if you find yourself in your bed at 10 p.m. working, and then you're up at 5 working, and then you're working all day, and there's no separation between you and work. None.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just keep pushing through. No, I need to finish this. I'll go take my dog out later. Or, oh, no, I'll just keep doing this and then I'll, meet everybody. Maybe I'll be 20 minutes behind because I can't get there yet because I need to. Yeah,
Yeah.
all that for sure.
Yeah.
Life and work becomes an obligation when we don't give attention to our desires, not talking about the goals.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's a constant check-in with yourself too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's learning that. And let me add to, I remember wanting to add this to one of the things we talked about is that when let's see, I just had a one of those where to go in my brain. So you just said,
well, I think what we're talking about, is that this shift to obligation happens
yeah,
so quietly, right?
yeah,
And, it's really talking about how reframing joy as something that's like not necessarily indulgent, it's necessary,
it's
right?
necessary.
It's
Mhm.
necessary. And so I think where you're going with that is about, how can we deepen it's not just about the goal, it's about the desire. So I think along the way, where's our permission slip? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like, where's the
that's it.
permission slip? So why do you think that joy, intuition, and creativity are often the first things sacrificed as you grow?
Yeah. It's it's being, I should say, not being conscious of how our brain works. That's all. It's really
Okay.
our brain is wired to record, to lean on the past, to find logic, find proof, reason, solutions. We must have that. It's our beautiful brain. However, when all we do is live there and not in our bodies, right? That's where we dim our light. Right? It's where the joy, the creativity, all of that is sacrificed because we have been trained, and this is what I do is I help you untrain yourself. And that's why you said that there's, a lot that goes on in my transformational sessions. Yeah, I'm currently right now with two small groups, right? My advanced portal and my soul led portal. They are deep right now, more so the soul led. The advanced have already gone through it, but in the soul led portal, they're deep right now. We're in session 3 of 6, and they're just trying, doing their best to retrain themselves through my coaching how to get out of this drudge of constant masculine energy.
Well, I think too, we said it earlier in the conversation as well. It's like,
Yeah.
if we want to quantify, we want there to be a direct link. Like our
Yeah.
brains want there to be a direct link. I do
Yeah.
this thing,
Yeah.
I get this, right? And like I go walk my dog, but I don't send that email. Am I still going to get the client, right? Like I think our brain is constantly playing that game, and that's really what you're talking about too. It's like
Yeah.
how are you listening to that intuition?
It's being aware, um, literally, and this is kind of where I begin when I'm coaching, is first establishing here's why this happens. It's how we're wired. It's how our brain is wired. It's okay. We just need to unlearn that.
Yeah.
We need to recalibrate what you've been doing for decades. Not easy feat. I get
No.
it. Not at all. But it is a lifesaver, or you can continue to be dysregulated and be frustrated and numbed out and all those things that go on, which I know you don't want. Yeah. So it's an unlearning process and being very, again, very, very conscious that, oh, there's my brain. Oh, that's what it's wanting me to do. So what I'll say when I catch myself, and I have this barometer because I've been doing this a while, is that I can feel it in my body when I'm really tense, when I've been in my brain too much, is or my brain wants to take me down that rabbit hole and feeling negative and repeat what it's done every day, some ridiculous story that wants to keep repeating, like I'll go, not now, not today. I'm doing this. So I like talk to my brain.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you have to kind of tell your brain like, "Hey, we're doing this instead. Like, I
Yeah,
know this is new. I get it." Um
yeah.
And it's not an easy thing to
Mm-mm,
recalibrate the
mm-mm.
fun in your business. Like it is not an easy thing to like re-bring in. So if someone has really like lost the fun in their business, they
Yeah.
can't find the joy in it anymore.
Hmm.
I mean, I know you've been there. You told us in 2017 you were there. So other than going to Italy, because
Right.
that might not be accessible, um, but like, where do you suggest that they start?
Yeah, sure. Well, definitely travel is number one. I don't care where you travel, but aside from travel is your spiritual life,
Yeah.
right? Find and deepen your relationship with your higher power, whatever that is. Commit to spiritual practices, meditation, journaling, attending classes, quiet time, ladies. Quiet time, especially in the mornings. before you go out into the world. Build a relationship with yourself and your spirit.
Hmm.
Must.
Well,
Absolutely must.
it's totally a must. Like if I'm feeling myself all spinny or like bleh about business, like that my journal, that thing is the best
Yeah.
asset in my business. And there's not a direct link to that and profit, but there is. Like there is.
There
So,
is.
yeah.
There absolutely is.
Yeah.
How to
So,
have
I
this.
mean, it's such a good conversation and a good reminder to all business owners, especially when the world feels so yucky and hard. And it
Yeah.
feels hard to be like, oh, I'm gonna go do this thing that I'm good at, but like, what's it matter? You know?
Mhm.
Like, I think joy and responsibility can coexist. Joy and structure, joy and financial goals. So, when we're talking about this blend, how do you see those things kind of like all coexisting in the ecosystem of their creative business?
Well, I've just, I think I've explained it the last
Yeah.
hour here, however
Yeah.
long we've been on. It's
So
just
thorough.
it's just the blend. Yeah. It's retraining yourself to live from a structure of the blend of feminine, masculine.
Hmm.
Know that that does exist. And you have permission to actually go and enjoy your life while you're making the money, while you're doing the structure, while you're in the deadline, in the trenches. So I love how you said, that joy can coexist with responsibility. Of course, you got to have both. You can't just have responsibility and structure.
Yeah, I mean it's the same like I even read a thing because I have a 5-year-old. But I was reading like that fun moms are the ones that are willing to be the most imagine or to have the most fun.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Or like the good moms are the ones who are having the most fun in motherhood. So I
Mhm.
think it applies in not just business but everywhere. And I see that and I think that you're such a good representation of that. And so is this podcast. And there's so many stories in the podcast too that are
Mhm.
good reminders. So I am curious, you know, we've had 100. So do you have like what are your must listens for our audience?
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, little hard to choose that.
I know, but we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, truly, all of them are my favorite because I love spotlighting, the human spirit,
Yeah.
right? And their resilience and their, way of navigating their lives. But a few that come to mind, of course, it has to do with Italy. Chris Sobolev's transformative experience, and I think that was the episode it was last year. I don't remember. Was it October? Anyway, you can find it, or maybe we can drop the link.
We'll pop the link in the
Drop the link. Anyway, Chris's transformative experience, and she was also, a client, is she had this bustling YouTube, still does, YouTube channel and brand called Super Savvy Travelers. Okay, where she and her husband serve Americans in finding their first dream Italian property using their Italian network because they live between both Northern California and Italy, and they're in Tuscany now. Um, but what they do is they help Americans find that through using their network of Italian experts of home buying, renovation, right? Mortgage, you name it. Anything has to do with a home, buying a home there, because she's not a realtor, although I know she has a real estate license in California. They're mainly experts because they did it themselves, how to find the property, and she's got a step-by-step system and all of that. But she's a consult. She consults Americans how to do that. So what
Hmm.
happened is, and she shares with you in the story, whew, even though they had a bustling brand, they did not have a sales system. There are other things around her brand too that I worked with her on. But her sales system, she didn't have one.
Yeah.
And she was running by the seat of her pants. And she was way undercharging, way undercharging. And to listen to her transformation, what happened is had her implement my qualifying sales system and had her 4x her rates. And she got them, and it all started to fall into place. And to this day, this was 2024 when we did this, through 2025, that's what she uses. And so she
Nice.
literally shares the transformation that happened among many as we worked together. So listen to that episode. I loved it. And the others are really the very first kind of 10 episodes back in 2022 from the clients that I invited to be on the podcast, that really exuded intuitive led pivots and reinventions, right? Most of them really being in the events and wedding industry. Because what was happening in 2022, we were just coming out of the pandemic. And so many of them, as you know, had to pivot. They had to reinvent themselves to
Yeah.
keep their livelihood. And so you'll hear, yeah, in those episodes, what was going on by listening to like Jordan. Jordan had a remarkable intuitive, she's a wedding planner out in North Carolina in Atlanta. And what she did to pivot, which was completely against all logic. She hired people instead of downsizing, right? Um, my gosh, Robert from oh gosh, um, he is a DJ production company, um, and Invisible Touch, and what he did to downsize his 30-year, DJ production company, and how he was able to weather this pandemic because it shut down so many industries. So listen to those first 10. It's pretty remarkable.
I was gonna say, I think that the first 10
Yeah,
people that we had on the podcast,
yeah.
like their transformations were probably the most impactful.
Oh,
And, they're some of my favorites too, because of your relationship to the guest. So,
yeah,
and in a time where the world is pretty uncertain right now too, those are great to revisit. So,
yeah, yeah.
I think as we wrap up here and we're celebrating, what does 100 episodes of Follow Your Joy mean to you,
My gosh, celebration!
Marla?
Celebration, of course.
Yeah.
We made it to 100, and we're on to inspiring, more lives around the globe. And celebrate with us, everybody, and post comments, right, on our social posts for this episode. And YouTube, would love your YouTube comments. So would you do that for us? Celebrate, let's have an online, if you will, celebration party. It's been a labor of love.
It really has been a labor of love. And, I mean, as we wrap it up, I think I'm curious, what do you hope this podcast gives people the permission slip to do in their own lives?
Yeah. Obviously, live by your joy, your intuition, and trust that what you need to know how to do something will show up when you stop chasing it. When you stop chasing it, say to yourself each morning, grace and ease. I am grace and ease. Not just grace and ease, but embody grace and ease.
I love that. And, I mean, I think for me, If there's one thing that I want everyone to take away, it's that joy is not a reward. It is literally something to live by. It's a compass. It's something to follow. And that's where we got the name. So thank
No.
you so much for watching. Make sure you comment and let Marla know your favorite episode in a comment below. And Marla, I'm so glad I got to interview you
Thank
today.
you. Oh my gosh, I loved it, loved it. It was a little longer than normal, everyone, but I think we deserve that after 100 episodes.
We had a lot to talk about, a lot of debrief, and people got to know you a whole lot better.
Yeah. Thanks, Chelsey.
Thanks, Marla.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my free downloads to uplevel your business and your life. And Instagram. It's my favorite place to hang out. Let's connect there. If you received inspiration from the episode, I'd sure appreciate a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Until next episode, take care.